Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, December 6th, and this is the Westwood Select Board meeting. And a call to order and pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16th, 2021 order extending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 18, to allow remote participation until April 22nd. The December 6th, 2021 meeting is being conducted via remote participation by the board. And of course, we'll grant Westwood Media the right to record the meeting as well. So as you might notice, for those of you that watch our select board meetings, we have quite a few people here this evening, and it's not because they're interested in politics. I have to tell you, this is probably one of my favorite things to do as a select board member. We have the field hockey Division II championship team here from the town of Westwood. It's the first time ever that we have Westwood is state champions. And as a result, we have a proclamation to be presented to the 2021 Westwood girls hockey team. Bear with me, girls, it's kind of long, okay? But you'll get a copy of it at some point in time. So whereas the select board officially recognizes the Westwood High School girls field hockey team for its Division II state final win against Neshoba High School on Saturday, November 20th. And whereas this was the first ever state championship win for Westwood field hockey, where it took two previous overtime wins to make it to the state finals. You guys can't really seem to win in regular time. You have to win in overtime, just so that all us New England fans are having a heart attack. Whereas it was a defensive battle for most of the game, and both teams limiting offense to just 2 shots on net, the game went into overtime again. Kendall Bloomquist fired a shot towards the net with about a minute to go in overtime, and Lindsay Diomede tipped it across the goaltender. Whereas with just 26 seconds left in overtime, Olivia Williams was able to knock the ball into the net for a 1-0 win. Whereas the goal delivered the third-seeded Wolverines into the first ever state championship girls field hockey win. The entire team contributed to the 1-0 win over Neshoba Valley, high school, supported by the head coach, Heather Jones, and outstanding staffing coach. Therefore, all that just to get to this. Let it be proclaimed that tomorrow, Tuesday, December 7th, 2021, shall be known as the Westwood Girls Field Hockey Day in Westwood to honor the 2021 girls hockey team on its Division II state championship win. And as you can see, we have half the team, well, probably a good portion of the team here. And I don't know who's here and who's not here, except that I do know that Heather is here. Heather, did you want to say something? This is your one opportunity at a select board meeting to congratulate the girls.
You girls just are such good people, and I'm so happy that you got to experience this. So congratulations, and hopefully field hockey can keep growing in Westwood now because of you.
That's right. And we have seniors. We have Lexi Bean, Kendall Bloomquist, Amelia Coogan, Kate Dean, Lindsay Diomede, Libby Dorsky, and Mia O'Donnell. And they will be leaving, but you guys will have to keep on the tradition next year and come right back at it, right? And what's really important to know for those of you that are paying attention, it's awful hard to win a state championship. But we have 8 talented girls on this team that have won 2 state titles. They won 1 for lacrosse, and now they've won 1 for field hockey. So congratulations to you ladies. You did a fantastic job. We are very proud of you. And yes, tomorrow, December 7th, will be the Girls Day in Westwood for your state championship field hockey division championship. Congratulations, ladies. Job well done.
Thank you so much.
All right. Let's see. Anybody want to say anything? I know you're one opportunity, and it'd be really nice because we're on live TV now. Seeing nothing. Well, thank you, ladies. I know some of you are actually at practice right now. Thank you for joining us. It's always our pleasure to have you here. And that would be the one that has May Foley and 3 girls in that picture all by themselves. So thank you very much, ladies, for joining us. And of course,
Mr. Walsh, before we
yes,
do
Mr.
we
Gotti.
pass this as a resolution? Is this one we vote on, or is that just a stated resolution?
Just a resolution for the town.
All right. Well, then I just want to say it's congratulations to all of you. I see so many names of families that we have grown up on fields with and around town, and it's so awesome to see everybody. you know, it's incredible that so many of you have been part of that 2 championship season between field hockey and lacrosse. So just congratulations to everybody. Congratulations, coach.
Excellent. John, anything?
Sure, I'll just echo the comments that have been made, and all of us recognize how hard this was and how much work you all put into it. So treasure this moment and celebrate, and congratulations. And we look forward to hopefully celebrating with you all again next year.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, thank you, ladies. Have a great night. You're welcome to stay for our meeting. You know, it's just feel like another hour and a half or so, but you don't have to stay, but you're welcome if you'd like to. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Somehow I knew they weren't interested in politics. Okay, so moving along on the chairman's update, we have winter parking restrictions that go into effect in Westwood. They go into effect on December 1st through March 31st. It is a all-night parking ban. It is specifically between the hours of 2 and 5, and mainly it is for ice and snow removal. So we'd ask that you please do not park, especially when inclement weather is predicted, so that we are able to clean the streets and the DPW are able to work together to get the town in shape as well as our schools. Also, we would like to remind you that please clear hydrants. We ask that everyone please try to clear the hydrant in your house in the event of a snowstorm so that we are able to be able to access the house in the event of an emergency. Also, there are 200 catch basins in Westwood, the town of Westwood. It's almost impossible for our entire fire department to keep them clean. So if you know where they are in your neighborhood, that would be tremendous help to our fire department and to our DPW to keep those as well during the inclement weather to help keep our streets safe. And with that, I think I'm turning this over to Mr. Coleman. You have something that you'd like to tell us?
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. You know, often we receive correspondence from residents and the general public regarding the good work that many of our team members do, and this is no exception. We have received inquiry both in email and in conversation from Martha, who has just joined us. And instead of me sharing her story, she would like to share her story regarding an interaction she had with Police Chief Jeff Silva.
Okay, first thing you have to do is unmute yourself, Martha.
Martha's a little taken up by emotions right now.
I see that. Yeah, she is. Okay.
Jeff. How are you? I'm sorry I'm such a mess, but this is just so amazing. I work at Gillette Stadium, and Jeff was actually there working that day. I was freezing my booty off, and I'm just so like, it was such a heartfelt action that Chief Jeff Silva did. I was freezing, I was literally shaking. It was so cold that night. It was raining, it was windy. Chief Jeff Silva saw that I was cold. He took it upon himself to go into the pro shop, get me this amazing sweater I have on right now. And mind you, I had only met him half an hour prior to that. And it's so amazing to know that there are people like you, Jeff, that just care about people. And it's, you know, you're so selfless. It's amazing. So thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Jeff, we invited them on because
I proposed for this, but I just kind of.
It's just fine, Martha. Don't you worry about it.
way too often we hear the bad things and things that don't go right, and you know, we take a lot of heat for those. So we thought it was a great opportunity to have Martha on to explain to everyone what a great opportunity it was, and that Jeff really stepped up in a case like this. And as you can see, Martha is taken back by Jeff's by his great deed of reaching out and getting her a sweatshirt. And I got to say, you said you were down at Gillette Stadium, and we know those sweatshirts are not cheap at Gillette Stadium.
Exactly. And I actually was just talking to my boyfriend about that. I was like, this will honestly be a once in a lifetime situation. I mean, he was a stranger before 30 minutes prior to that whole sweatshirt interaction. And it's so rare. Seriously, Jeff, it's so rare for humans like you to be around, to be so selfless. I mean, like I said, you took it upon yourself. You spent your own money just because you saw me shivering. And it's,
Excellent. I'm sure there are a lot of dry eyes, no dry eyes watching this right now. So my wife is on the other side of the room and I think she's in tears already listening to the story. So thank you very much, Martha. Thank you, Jeff.
Martha?
thank you, Jeff.
Chris, anything you want to say, Chris?
I cannot say anything more than what Martha has said, other than I just think this is just an example of who Chief Silva is. And we certainly thank him for being who he is and what he brings to the town of Westwood every day.
I did want to add that when I spoke with other cops, because I was trying to figure out, like, I wanted to kind of give them like a thank you card or something like that. I spoke to other cops about it. And as soon as they found out that it was Jeff that did that, like, none of them were surprised. They're like, oh yeah, that's just him being him. So thank you, Jeff.
This has been a long time coming. You have touched Jeff so much. It's the first time I've ever seen him quiet. He is speechless right now.
No, here he comes. Here he comes.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Mark. We appreciate it. Hope it
Thank
won't
you
happen
very much,
again, but I'm
Martha.
sure if it does.
Thank you
Jeff
for
will
reaching
be
out
there.
to us.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Martha.
Thank you, Jeff. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, moving along to our scheduled action. Well, the good Lord giveth and the good Lord taketh away. So we have a recommendation on a dog hearing, which in my time, and I don't know if Mr. Herney was on a lot longer than I am, what the chances of these coming up, but we did have a dog hearing, Chris, and I'm going to let you just kind of fill us in. And I know it was conducted with you and Jeff as well. And you guys have a recommendation for us based upon the hearing. So take it away.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the recommendation is in the packet and is available, but just wanted to give the board an overview. There was a hearing, there was an investigation that took place on June 17th. A resident called regarding a dog attack. The police department responded, did their due diligence, filed their reports. Chief Silver shared that information with me after speaking with the individual who was bitten. And the request was for a dog hearing. This hearing was duly advertised and public notice was given. It was a public hearing, it was open to the public. We did conduct that hearing on October 7th. Both Ms. Wilson, who is the owner of the dog, as well as Mr. Fitzgibbon, who is the resident who was bitten by the dog, along with his wife, had an opportunity to speak, which they did. Chief Silva certainly provided an overview of what took place from the police department, and the recommendation that I'm making for this hearing for the board for your consideration, like I said, is in your packet, and the recommendation is to identify this dog as a dangerous dog. I think it's important to note for the board that the resident and the dog no longer reside in Westwood. There is a process in which, if the board does accept this recommendation, that we will go through using with the assistance of Dottie Powers, our town clerk, communicating with the town clerk in the new community that the dog owner and the dog currently reside.
Okay.
And
So,
I don't know, Chief Silver, if there's anything else that you'd like to add. Mr. Chair, I'd also like to just point out that Town Council Pat Hearn was present for the hearing as well. And Pat, or Chief, if you have any additional information you'd like to share, please feel free.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So, Mr. Hearn, I assume we did fulfill all of the requirements of the due process under the statute to allow both the input of the public and the individual that was attacked, as well as the owner?
Anyone who was present was allowed to speak that day.
Okay.
We had the meeting in person in the Gillette meeting room. As Mr. Coleman has said, it was duly noticed and was publicly noticed as well. And both parties who were kind of involved were allowed to speak virtually anything they wanted to say.
Okay.
And Pat, can we be as simple as simply stating that we adopt the recommendations, or do we need to read
Yes.
into the record? Okay. So that'll be my
I
motion,
would
Michael,
inc-
when you're ready.
I would include them I would make your motion so that you include them in the record, so that
I'm
they
gonna
become
reference them.
part of-
Yeah.
They become part of the record.
Okay. All right.
And Tish,
um,
may I just ask one other procedural question? Are anyone from the hearing present in the room that they may like to speak further?
No. No, not that I can see.
Okay,
And they
So noted.
were, nope, and they were, right, we sent out letters through certified mail.
okay. And you got the certified return copies, correct?
I got one back from the dog owner and did not get a response back from Mr. Fitzgibbon yet.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions, John or Rob? Okay. Then we'll entertain a motion. I'll let you artfully craft it to incorporate it into the record.
Yeah, I'm kind of ad-libbing here. Okay, I move that the select board adopt the recommendation and decision of the public dog hearing that was held on October 7th, 2021.
And may a point of order, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
And incorporate a copy of that decision in the minutes?
Sure, and
Okay.
incorporate a copy of the decision into our minutes for this meeting.
okay. Sufficient, Mr. Aaron?
I believe it is.
Okay. Second,
I'll second that.
okay. Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Mr. Gotti,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Okay. Moving along under our scheduled action, we have the public hearing. Ms. Dukeman is joining us this evening to talk about our tax classification for the fiscal year 2022, which this is a continued public hearing. It is continued from the November 15th, 2021 hearing. We opened the hearing, but we were waiting for state certification. And so therefore we will continue the hearing this evening. Ms. Dukeman, you have the floor.
Yes, and you do have tonight in attendance the Board of Assessors, Nancy Hyde, Mark Murphy, and Chris McCune, as well as John Curran, the Town Assessor. So as you said, this is the public hearing for the Board of Assessors to make the recommendation to the Select Board on the tax classification factor, which is the number that is used to apportion the taxes amongst the commercial and residential property classes. So I'm not sure if the assessors want to lead off or
Pam, I would certainly defer to you and your expertise rather than the Board of Assessors to go through
okay.
this PowerPoint that led up to our recommendation.
We have a very brief PowerPoint. I'll share that. The assessors met last week and went through the material and then came up with their recommendation for you. So if I just share quickly. So again, this is the tax classification hearing. We look at value for FY22, and a reminder that the value is based on Department of Revenue regulations. The values are based on the value as of January 1, 2021, and sales that occurred during calendar year 2020. Value for new growth that we can take through June 30, 2021. Overall value for the town increased 2.3% from FY21 to FY22. That was made up of two components. The residential value increased 1.2%, and then we had an increase in the commercial value of 8.8%. And that commercial value increase was primarily driven by some new personal property and an increase in the industrial values. So that was really a great increase to see the commercial value go up by that amount, increasing more than residential. We have not had that for a few years. In FY22, commercial value will be about 15.6% of the total value in town, and that's up from FY21 when it was 14%. If we look back before University Station came online, commercial property was 12% of the value. So it's increased from 12% to 15%. Looking at the residential value, the overall increase of all residential property in total, 1.2%. I will point out, as always, there's always a range of changes to individual homes. This year, about 67%, so almost 70% of our homes experienced a change in value within a very tight range, from either a -2% value change up to a 2% increase. So a very tight bandwidth of how the home values changed in town. And as always, there are some homes that have a significant increase in value as they underwent new construction. So the homes in some of our newer developments were valued the year before just for land, and now the house is up and has been sold and fully valued. So they do see a more significant increase in value. So just looking again at the total value, this chart shows you the total residential, commercial, and town value, FY22 to FY21. So again, overall 2.3% in value, but seeing 8% increase in commercial and 1.2% in residential. Again, that's helping to bring up our commercial as a percent of total. 15.6% in FY22, almost a point higher than it was in FY21. This line graph on the left shows commercial as a percent of total value over a multi-year period. This low point here, right before University Station started, the commercial was only 12% of the total value in town. And again, now it is kind of had some steady increases, and now we are up to 15.6%. Just quickly on new tax growth, our total new growth certified by the state, $1.5 million. We're seeing about half of that come from residential, about 704,000. And again, that's some of the newer housing renovations, new property that I mentioned, including that Hedge Road neighborhood and some of the townhouses at the Lodge property. Commercial side, about $860,000 in new tax growth. Again, some of that coming from this personal property kind of public utility increase, and then some commercial. In University Station, the commercial value increase included some changes from the Makita building fully coming online, as well as an increase in the Citizens Bank as that TIF starts to drop down. It was 95% the year before, 75% in FY22. So the Board of Assessors is recommending to you that you approve the 22 shift factor at 1.70. That is the factor we've had in place the last 2 years, 20 and 21. We had 1.68 in 19, 1.70 from 15 to 18, 1.65 from 7 to 14. So you've had a very steady shift factor for a number of years, and that's always good to kind of stay consistent with this distribution. At the 170 shift in FY22, commercial property, as we said, 15.6% of value, but they will pay with that shift factor 26.6% of the total town taxes. And again, that is up from FY21, where it was 25%. And commercial, again, before University Station came in line, paid 21% of the total taxes in town. So that's a significant increase to go from the 21 to the FY22 26%. That commercial and the split tax rate is a significant savings for our average homeowner. If we only had a single tax rate, our average home would have a tax bill that would be higher by about $1,500, or almost a 15% increase. So having this split rate, doing an appropriate shift over to commercial is a huge benefit for our residents. This chart just summarizes what we're looking at. Commercial property paying 26% of the total levy at that 170 shift factor, a savings of about $1,500 to our average home. And again, the total taxes paid, commercial paying 26% of the total taxes in town, residential 73%. A quick look at a sample home. This is a home we have tracked the last couple of years in that mid to high $600,000 range. That home in FY22 will increase to $683,000, up from the previous year's $676,000. They will have a change in their tax bill of about $134 or 1.3%. And again, the savings of about $1,500 if we had a single rate to that homeowner. So this bar graph shows the tracking of that home and their tax bill for several years. Again, in green, FY22, based on your recommendation tonight, they would have a 1.3% increase in taxes. We do always point out that our new housing stock in Westwood is coming online at increasingly higher values each year than in previous years. Department of Revenue calculates a pure average home value just based on total single-family residential divided by the number of homes. In FY22, that will be calculated at just over $838,000, just a slight increase from the previous year of $837,000. We also track our median home value. Half the home value is above this, half below. In FY22, that's about $727,000. Again, up slightly from the previous year. The chart on the bottom shows the three homes we've been talking about, that DOR average calculated, that median home value, and then that sample home, the high $683,000 home. For each of those, we're showing you their change in value for FY22, and really pretty just consistent small increase in value. And then what's their change in tax bill? So that sample home we're following a 1% increase in value, and they will see a 1.3% increase in their tax bill. And this chart, I know it's a busy chart. We just always like to include homes of all different values. We often talk about everyone's home value can change differently depending on what's happening with the sales near that home, what's happening if people are doing new construction or renovation for the home. So we're showing a wide range of homes from up almost to a $2 million home down to a $500,000 house, change in value, change in their tax bill for the year. And we include a chart like this in the insert we put into the tax bill that will get mailed out later in the month so that people can see there's a wide fluctuation in what's happening to an individual's tax bill. People sometimes confuse Prop 2.5, thinking tax bill can only go up 2.5%. That's not the case. The total taxes the town can collect can only go up 2.5%, but everyone's individual bill is based on their change in value. But we are seeing, because the commercial property value increased more than residential, we are seeing some lower than normal increases for our average residential homes. We'll have many of our residents having a tax increase of about 1%, some even having decreases from 1 to 2%. So a different year than it's been the last couple of years. And then finally, we just always show some comparison to other communities and what their shift factors are. We point out that this is from last year's rates because not every town has done their rates for 22 yet. We show neighboring communities, but many of our neighbors are different than us. If you look at Canton, Norwood, Dedham, they have much more commercial property than Westwood does. You can see that Dedham has a higher shift factor, 1.75. Those communities benefit from having significant commercial property. If you look at Medfield, without significant commercial property, they have a single rate. They don't shift over to commercial because it simply doesn't work for them. So their rate is $17 for residentials. So Westwood in this past year, $14.78, a shift of 1.7, and the commercial rate $28.59. So again, that's kind of looking at last year's, and once all of these communities certify their rates, we will update this. But again, even though these are our surrounding communities, there's differences based on how much commercial property they have, what is their homes valued at. Obviously, Wellesley, the tax rate is lower, but their home values are much, much higher than our totals here in Westwood. So that's a walkthrough of the presentation. And again, the Board of Assessors met last week, went through all of the material, and based on that are recommending that you do stay at the 1.70 shift for FY22.
Thank you, Pam. So I've been doing this, obviously, this is my 8th year doing this, and I ask the same question every year, Pam. So, and I know the answer by now, it's not like I forget, but I think it's important that everyone hears the answer. So, you know, why does Westwood say, okay, why don't we go to the 1.75? like a Dedham and a Needham? Why do we stay at the 1.70? And I know you know the answer, so can you just recite it again for everyone who doesn't quite understand how it works?
Sure, and then I'm happy to have the assessors weigh in on that. It's a very delicate balance. Again, we mentioned we don't have as much or really traditionally as strong the commercial presence as some other communities. We're trying to benefit the residents by doing some shift over. We mentioned that $1,500 to the average home. But to jump up to 175, you can put at risk kind of the continued development that you do want in the commercial property, as well as not allowing yourself any room in future years if there was some kind of sudden change in property values. And the town has experienced that in previous years. So the Board of Assessors is always very cautious to make sure we're getting a good benefit from the shift factor, but also protecting that we could, if value changed significantly in a year, there'd be room to not have a sudden shock on our residents if we had to significantly change that shift factor.
Thank you. As I said, I know the answer, but I think it's important. Mr. Gotti, you have a question?
Yeah, and along a similar vein, Michael, to an answer that would probably benefit other listeners. Pam, can you just explain, so it's very clear the benefit of the split tax rate, but when you talk about a shift factor of 1.7, can you sort of just elaborate on what that shift factor is for people?
So the shift factor, taxes are based on value. But in Massachusetts, if you adopt a different rate for commercial, in a sense, you're shifting more than their fair share over to the commercial. So we said commercial is about 15.6% of value, but with the shift, they're going to pay 26% of the total taxes in town. So that's where we use the term shift. We're shifting some of the tax burden over to them. We're not all paying the same, residents and commercial, not all paying the same tax rate and not paying the same share value to taxes. So again, it's extremely helpful for a community to be able to shift some of the tax burden over to the commercial properties. Westwood's done a terrific job for a long, long time, our Board of Assessors and our select board members, by making sure we don't, that they're shifting the appropriate amount to still encourage commercial development, to still make sure future development is occurring, but giving the residents the benefits. And again, you see from some of that history, the University Ave project, it made a tremendous difference. And we all know if we did not have that project come forth, we probably would not be holding a classification hearing tonight, and we would be at a single rate because our commercial percent was dropping so significantly that we were very close to having to go to a single tax rate. And that would have been an immediate increase to our residents in their tax bills without any increase in service. So certainly not what we want to do.
Thank you, Pam. John, anything?
No, I'll make a motion if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, well, first I want to thank the Board of Assessors. I know this is a lot of work, and Pam, to your team. This is great. So I move that the Select Board act upon the recommendation from the Board of Assessors to approve a classification factor of 1.70 for fiscal year 2022, and to authorize the Town Administrator's Office to electronically sign on behalf of the Board of Selectmen with the notice to be filed with the Department of Revenue.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Mr. Gotti,
Aye.
Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. And second part of that motion, John?
So I move that the Select Board close the public hearing for tax classification for fiscal year 2022.
Second that motion as well.
Okay, Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Mr. Gotti,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Thank you very much, Pam. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just for a second, John, just thank Pam and the Board of Assessors, and it goes without saying, it's John Curran, his staff, and Pam that make the Board of Assessors look good. As you all know, it's a highly regulated closely watched. And essentially the result is the bane of most residents' existence, right? Paying taxes. And the quality of their work and the confidence in their work is unparalleled. So thank you, John, and please pass that on to your staff and then Pam and to your staff as well.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank
If we
you.
don't see you, have a happy holiday.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, Nora, you're up. We have a change manager application for Roach Brothers.
Yes, I believe Thomas Moynihan, who is the projected new manager at Roach Brothers, and Jim Sperber from Roach Brothers are both joining us.
You should be coming into the meeting now.
Mute the video. Hi, Jim Sperber here from Roach Brothers
How are you?
Supermarket.
Yes, and there's Thomas.
Yes,
So,
Tom's coming in.
so we received an application for the change in manager to Thomas Moynihan. Thomas has been with Roach Brothers since 1982, including some time spent at the Westwood location. He's also been in Millis, Randolph, Quincy, and West Roxbury. And his application has been reviewed by the Alcohol Review Committee and we unanimously recommend that the select board approve the change in manager.
Okay. Any questions from either board member?
Nope.
Okay. So, all right, John, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the board approve Thomas Moynihan as the manager of record at Roach Brothers Supermarket contingent upon Alcohol Beverage and Control Commission, ABCC approval, and for the electronic signature of the select board to be affixed to the ABCC licensing authority certification.
I will second that.
Okay, Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Mr. Gotti,
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Thank you very much. Stay right there, Nora, don't go anywhere.
Thank you very
We
much.
have, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Tom.
So the next application before you is for the Norfolk Golf Club, change in their officers application. And for this one, the Norfolk Golf Club president, Ed McNally, is joining. While we wait for Ed to come on, I can just let you know, we go through this year after year. There's an annual change of officers at Norfolk Golf Club. This year's president will be Ed McNally, vice president David O'Leary, treasurer will be Michael Murphy, secretary Lorraine Beaumont, and the board of governors will include Todd O'Connor, Christopher Collins, Richard Hunter, Charles Bean, and Robert Wright. And the Alcohol Review Committee has reviewed these recommended changes in officers and again recommends unanimously that the board grant approval.
Okay, Michael, you want to just do a motion?
Yeah, I'm okay with Mr. McNally. Here comes Mr. McNally now, even though he's using his wife's email, but his wife's.
Okay, I will move that the board approve the change of officers for Norfolk Golf Club for the 2022 license year pending ABCC approval and for the electronic signatures of the select board to be affixed to the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission licensing authority certification.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Mr. Gotti,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Okay,
Thank
so
you. And
done.
while we're,
Now, yes,
we're
now we
here-
have Mother's Day.
yes, Norfolk Golf Club would like to return to its Mother's Day brunch. They took last year off while their building was being renovated, but they're back to having a 2-session brunch on Mother's Day. And they're requesting early use of their alcohol license on Mother's Day, beginning at 10 a.m. for 2 seatings of brunch.
Okay, we do this
And
every year.
again, ARC recommends unanimous approval.
Right, we do this every year, and except for last year, of course, and they've had no issues whatsoever, so I'm okay with it.
Okay, I move that the board grants permission to Norfolk Golf Club for an extension of alcohol service to begin at 10 a.m. on May 8th, 2022 for their annual Mother's Day brunch.
I will second that.
Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Mr. Gotti,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nora. Now we have a long list.
Yes.
Long list.
So
Yes, we
this
do.
is the 2022 license renewals. That's for all of the license renewals, common vitler, on-premise alcohol, off-premise alcohol, entertainment, class 1 and 2 automobile dealer licenses, junk dealer license, livery, taxi company, and unattended donation containers. And I'm requesting that you renew all of the licenses for all the existing businesses in those categories as were submitted on the report that you received. Would you like me to read the names by category?
That's probably the best way.
Okay, so
Yes,
let me,
now, we had one drop out, if I remember correctly, this afternoon, Tish, right?
so
Nora, you know
there's
about that.
one, right, there's one that was on your report for a taxi license, but they did not complete the application process. And Karen Flynn, our licensing coordinator, called repeatedly. She spoke to them on at least 4 or 5 different occasions, and they assured her they'd apply, but they didn't. So we're recommending that you hold off on any action on that one taxi license. If they do submit a late application for renewal, we will have to hold a separate hearing for that license to be considered. I don't know that they will be applying since we haven't heard from them. They missed the deadline by quite a while. So let me begin with common vitler licenses, and this is all of the existing businesses in town that have CV licenses. We have Birdie's Creative Creamery, BB's Cafe and Bakery, Bubbling Brook, Chipotle, Dunkin' Donuts. We have 4 Dunkin' Donuts, the Coffee Grinder Donuts, High Street Dunkin' Donuts, Medway Donuts, and Westwood Donuts. Epicurean Feast, that's at 690 Canton Street, Islington Pizza and Sub, Lifetime Bistro, Lifetime Cafe, Nextime Cafe, Panda Express, Panera Bread, Sebastian's at 247 Station Drive, Starbucks Coffee on University Avenue, Starbucks Coffee on High Street, Target, Tastefully Done Restaurant and Catering, Which Superior Sandwiches, Westwood Jade, Wegmans, and Westwood Pizza. And I just want to point out that 2 of those, Bubbling Brook and Lifetime Bistro, are both pending spring inspections. All of the others have completed their inspections, but Bubbling Brook and Lifetime Bistro are seasonal.
Okay. You want to just keep going, Nora, we'll do. We'll take
one
any
motion for all of them?
questions at the end. Yeah, why not?
Okay, all right, then we have on-premises CV with all alcohol licenses for Anthony's Coal Fired Pizza, Blue Orchid, Casa Loca, Chiara Bistro, Courtyard, Boston Dedham, Westwood, Del Frisco's Grill, Norfolk Golf Club, Not Your Average Joe's, and Wild Blossom. We have on-premise CV wine and malt beverage licenses for Camellas, the Toast Office, and Smash Burger. Off-premises wine and malt beverage licenses for Roach Brothers Supermarket, High Street Market, Lambert's Rainbow Fruit, and Wegmans. Then we have entertainment licenses for Anthony's Coal Fired Pizza, Blue Orchid, Casa Loca, Chiara Bistro, Camellas, Courtyard, Boston, Dedham, Westwood, Del Frisco's Grill, Not Your Average Joe's, Smash Burger, the Toast Office, Wegmans, and Wild Blossoms. For taxi company licenses, we have American Norfolk Taxi, American Taxi, Norfolk Town Taxi, and Maurice Cab. The first 3, American Norfolk Taxi, American Taxi, and Norfolk Town Taxi, we're asking you to approve their licenses pending inspections. Those are still outstanding. Maurice Cab has completed their inspections. For livery licenses, we have Boston Carriage. Junk dealer, we have just one, Dolabany Jewelers. Class 1 auto dealers, we have Audi Westwood, Porsche Westwood, Mercedes-Benz of Westwood, Ira Acura Westwood, and Ira Mazda. Class 2 auto dealers, we have the Highline Group. And then unattended donation containers are Bay State Textiles at Temple Beth David, Westwood Lions Club Eyeglass Bin on High Street, St. Pauli Textiles at the First Baptist Church, and Windward Trading LLC Red Cross at the Senior Center on Manhattan Street. So we request that you consider renewing all of those licenses this year, and that request is unanimous from the Alcohol Review Committee as it pertains to the alcohol licenses.
Okay, so because this, I guess this is a public hearing, I at least need to open it for comments. See if there are any comments or questions from the public.
At this time, Mr. Chair, I do not see any comments coming in.
Okay. And I will entertain a motion.
Okay, I move that the select board approve the renewal of the aforementioned licenses for the 2022 calendar year pending the appropriate public safety inspections and alcohol beverage control commission approval, and for the electronic signatures of the select board to be affixed to the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission licensing authority certification form and to the 2022 licenses, and further that this list be included in the minutes for tonight's meeting.
Sorry, one quick question, Mr. Chair, before.
Yes,
second.
Mr. Mayor. Yes.
Nora, just with the taxis, is there a deadline by which they have to have those inspections performed?
Before the end of the year, so that their new license takes effect on January 1st. They would, in order to be handed that new license, they would have to have their inspections completed by December 31st.
Thank you. I'll second that motion.
Okay, Mr. Hickey.
Aye.
Mr. Gotti.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you very much, Nora. We didn't ask you to repeat the list more than once.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Moving along now, we have a public hearing for Verizon New England Cable ascertainment hearing, and we have Westwood Media Center here, as well as, so we have Melissa, Michael, and Council William August.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Michael Gay, and I'm one of the 5 Westwood Media Center board members. Really appreciate everybody's time and focus tonight. Joining me are fellow Westwood resident and Westwood Media Center Executive Director Melinda Garfield, Bill August, who's the external counsel representing the town of Westwood, excuse me, in the Verizon contract renewal negotiations, and my fellow Westwood board members, John Cummings, Jim Jaleo, Michelle Sutrich, and Cheryl Morrison Deutsch. Westwood Media Center has come a long way over the last 5 years. From opening our state-of-the-art studio in 2016 to the global COVID pandemic that changed all of our lives over the last couple of years, Westwood Media Center has been there for Westwood. Only sustained over the last years, but we thrive.
Okay. I assume that's Mr. Gay having trouble.
I think it's his internet, yeah.
Share a video. Shoot. It always happens when you don't want to. I'm going to ask Melinda, I apologize for that. I'm going to ask Melinda to share a video that we put together to give you a little bit of an inside look at what we've been doing over the last few years.
I brought with me here a citation from the Massachusetts State Senate and the Massachusetts House of Representatives, an official citation. Be it known that the Massachusetts Senate and the Massachusetts House of Representatives hereby extends its congratulations to Westwood Media Center in recognition of the opening of your brand new phenomenal studio. Congratulations.
2017 saw one of the most successful years for Westwood Media Center. Regular programs such as Around the Hoop, Westwood Media Monthly, Town Talk, and Inside Westwood premiered.
At the Westwood High School for the fall season, there are 421 student athletes competing on 21 teams.
An expansion into production saw staff from events such as the Live at Hale concert series, the uncoupling of the Islington Fire Station, and the Great Courses series. 2018 saw an expansion of our government coverage, with the select board meetings being filmed in the new police station, as well as live broadcasted meetings from the public library. More events included the opening of the Brigham facility on University Avenue, as well as the installation of a new bridge on East Street. In 2019, Westwood Media Center began streaming meetings from the police station and Carby Street onto YouTube, offering more accessibility than ever before, and saw similar technology installed at the Jowdy Theater in the high school. This year also saw the beginning of the school building committee meetings.
So jumping right in, we wanted to give a quick update on the OPM search.
Westwood Media Center also completed in-depth projects such as Aging with Dignity, Behind the Ballots, and Westwood News Now. I'm your host, Connor Lynch, here to recap and preview all things Westwood. But in 2020, the world had to pause. Yet at Westwood Media Center, we never stopped hitting the play button. Westwood Media Center provided live local events during the pandemic, including the first ever live election coverage in 2021 and expanded live broadcasting at multiple sites. Additionally, our municipal meetings have expanded to include over 500 government meetings, including 3 regularly recorded boards, doubling the amount of committees we film. All meeting rooms have been outfitted with hybrid technology as we look into 2022 and beyond. Pandemic-specific outreach and assistance was provided to Westwood residents through interviews, PSAs, and informational videos such as building closures and roadwork. And Westwood Media Center was able to bring the community together through virtual events such as religious services and fundraisers. Westwood News Now has run uninterrupted for over 2 years, with over 100 episodes that deliver critical community information and town-wide news when Westwood residents need it most. When you want to relive that last-minute goal, when you want to see your kids expand their knowledge,
Liam has never juggled in his life before, and I am a pro.
and when you want to appreciate the little moments over and over again. Our team never stops working for Westwood. We're always seeking out the latest and greatest technology so that Westwood Media Center can be there for you.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay.
And now I have a quick presentation for you. Let me just share my screen. So thank you again, everyone, the select board and members of the Westwood community. Thank you for the opportunity to testify tonight at the cable television franchise renewal public hearing. Westwood Media Center views Verizon as a strategic partner in offering cable TV services to residents of Westwood. Though our mission hasn't changed much, we believe that it is our duty to provide the residents of Westwood with news, information, and event coverage specific to the town we all live in. In a time where the traditional news sources struggle to survive, PEG operations have become the last bastion of truly hyperlocal content. In the summer of 2020, we released a survey on social media and found that government meetings and election coverage were the highest watched choices clicked. The survey allowed the person to choose multiple shows that they watched, which is where you are seeing those percentage numbers coming from. Westwood Media Center now has 4 full-time employees, which is attributed to the recent Comcast agreement that renewed in July of 2021. You can still find us on Verizon Channel 32 and 42 and Comcast 8 and 12. We also have Channel 22 on Comcast, which is our community bulletin board channel. We have most of our programming on our website as well as our YouTube channel, and we frequently post on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. You can still find us at 15 Furwell Street. We've outfitted Carby Street, the police station, the library, the Little Theater in the high school, and Wentworth Hall with robotic cameras, audio integration, hybrid capabilities, and the ability to stream live to our TV channels and to YouTube. And if you haven't stopped by our studio yet, which opened in December of 2016, then you're missing out. We have provided services and equipment to almost every town department, countless youth producers, interns, and community groups. Our dedicated volunteer board, with their great diversity of backgrounds, talents, and interests, has been instrumental in ensuring that the operation is focused on anticipating and delivering on the ever-evolving needs of our community. Our very long monthly meetings have strengthened this organization. They are thoughtful, unafraid to challenge ideas, yet respectful in their approach. And I'd like to take a moment to thank them for their collaboration and support, especially over the last 2 years. Oops. We are in a very precarious time to be renewing with a cable company. As we open our franchise agreement up for negotiation, we must stay aware of additional terms and threats on the horizon. The statewide subscriber rate is down almost 17% over the past 5 years. As the technology advances, there is no doubt that the product being delivered to our homes will reclassify as an internet product, at which time cable operators will no longer have to abide by the Federal Cable Act. Here you can see just how many subscribers we've had since PEG has existed in Westwood, and the steep drop off of those subscribers starting around 2017, exactly when we renegotiated our last Verizon license agreement. Westwood has lost 624 Verizon subscribers in the past 5 years. This graph shows a projection of the next 5 years losing subscribers at the same rate. This is important to note since the money for capital improvements received is currently on a per subscriber basis. Verizon and Comcast are finally on a level playing field in terms of operating. They both contribute the maximum amount allowed, 5% of gross annual revenues. WMC respectfully asks the issuing authority to encourage Verizon to keep the 5% operating contribution rate. As you see here, as of summer of 2012, Comcast is now paying a 0.5% of gross annual revenues for capital, which equates to around $16,000 per year. Additionally, they gave the town $60,000 paid over the course of the 10-year license that was already used to outfit Wentworth Hall with AV. Our ask to the issuing authority is that you request $319,690 from Verizon and Capital over the next 5-year agreement. We have a lot of exciting projects that we'd like to tackle, including a creative media suite at the Westwood Public Library, an upgrade to our playback system that would enable us to easily distribute programs across several different additional platforms, keep the equipment we currently manage throughout the town up to date. It's hard to believe that our studio is 5 years old and some of the equipment is aging out already. That's why it is unbelievably important that we get the capital money in lump sums over the course of the license instead of the current per sub equation. Here you can see how we'd make those upgrades over the course of the 5 years. During the last 2 years in particular, WMC has been working around the clock to keep our community connected, and we are proud to be the official provider of that video content. Thank you for your continued support in allowing us the time to present tonight.
Hey, thank you, Melinda. So this is a public hearing, and so if anyone wishes to be heard this evening,
Mr. Chairman, I think we need to read something into the record, and I
Okay,
ask your
Sure.
indulgence to let me do that. Tonight is a public hearing on Verizon's cable license renewal. The hearing is part of the cable license renewal process to ascertain the community cable related needs. Notice of this hearing was in the local newspapers 2 successive weeks, and notices on the town website. Copies of the legal advertisements are entered into the hearing record as ascertainment hearings Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2. By way of background, Verizon cable license expires on June 16th, 2022. Federal and state law require that holding public ascertainment proceedings, including this hearing. We will receive comments and testimony from the public and interested persons about what cable-related needs and interests are important to the public and of how Verizon has performed under its existing license. Before going on to further public comment, I would like to thank the members of our public team that is meeting with Verizon and Westwood Media Center and the nonprofit community TV studio and Verizon for their participation and assistance in the ongoing license renewal proceeding. In this proceeding, we're open to accepting comments about Verizon's cable-related matters, including but not limited to customer service, license administration, the town's needs regarding the local studio, community programming, and public educational and governmental access, and maintaining support for the town's local channels and video organization capabilities. Note that this process of accepting comments on cable needs and interest will remain open until further notice, and comment schedule will be discussed and specified later in tonight's meeting. At this time, we should proceed to further public comment. Please type your comments in the Zoom Q&A chat function or raise your hand. And if you type them in, they will be read by the chair. For the record, please include your name, your address, and your comment. Thank you all for letting us proceed with this public hearing tonight.
thank you, Mr. Hearn. Thank you for reading that for me. I didn't have to do it. Thank you. So based on that, I see no comments yet in the question and answer period down below. I should say that our next hearing will be on December 20th, so we will keep the hearing open until our next hearing. And I'll continue to talk and speak while we see if there are any questions. But,
Mr. Chairman, I would be happy to speak as a member of the public, not as town council, if I may.
Then you may, Mr. Hearn, please identify yourself for the record.
Pat Ahern, 103 Church Street. I can tell you in my travels around town, I come across many seniors who watch the cable programming in a very thorough way. It is a lifeline for them on town government and what's going on in town. And they watch the community events and they watch the sporting events. And it's, like I said, I believe a lifeline for them, and it's vital to the town of Westwood's vitality to continue the great mission of the Westwood Media Center and all they do for the town. So thank you for the ability to speak as a citizen tonight, Mr. Chairman.
I would say thank you as well, Mr. Hearn. I can say that I do happen to agree with you at attending many of the senior events. They're always telling me they saw me on television. So that's the only place that they can find me on television. So anyone else like to have any comments prior to us closing or continuing the public hearing to our next meeting?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So I'd just like to again thank Mr. Council Hearn for reading that, and just to remind people that the contract does expire on July 16th, 2022. I would just like to say, in my short time here in Westwood, I found the Westwood Media Center not to be a separate entity, but to be a partner with the town. As you know, they cover meetings such as this one. They cover town celebrations, the high school graduation, Westwood Day. They provide coverage for town meeting. As you saw, they cover religious services, recreation programs, council on aging programs, library, youth and family services, and election coverage. Really providing the residents with an opportunity for those who cannot be present for these events to actually watch these events and be part of these events sometime later. They also have a YouTube channel that allows people to watch the video library. So any meetings that they're covering that they're not able to see live, they can go back to that video library and watch it at any time. Westwood Media Center has been a tremendous partner, especially during COVID, as we were transitioning to remote meetings. They began covering almost everyone, if I'm not mistaken, possibly even all of our board meetings, to provide residents with an opportunity to see what was happening, what their elected and appointed officials and the business of the town. So I just want to thank Westwood Media for all of their work and again, their partnership with our team.
Mr. Coleman. So with that, I guess we will keep the hearing open. There are two ways other than being here live. Oh, let me see. We do have a question and answer thing. We have, hold on, Mr. August, just 1 second. We do have a comment from Nancy Hyde. The Westwood Media Center is an essential service to our community. They do an outstanding job in facilitating meetings, communicating important matters to the public, and airing sporting events and more. Thank you, Ms. Hyde. Yes, Mr. August, Attorney August. You have to unmute yourself first.
Thank you very much. I lost the video.
There you go.
Just a procedural comment on the hearing record. If I could request that the presentation document that Melinda Garfield read from can be entered as an actual hearing exhibit. That might be useful down the road when preparing findings of need, which we sometimes do depending on the course of the proceedings. I know much of it was discussed tonight, and the information is part of the hearing record by virtue of having been discussed and shown, but I would just like to have the hard copy or some electronic, the full document be a hearing exhibit for ease of reference down the road. And this may come up in what you were about to address about the hearing record remaining open until the next selectmen's meeting. I just want to point out for the benefit of the public and the select board as the licensing authority that although the hearing record is usually closed when you do close the hearing eventually, the Cable Act specifically contemplates that the hearing is just one part of this ascertainment process where the issuing authority or franchising authority, even after a particular hearing is closed, we, the town, continue this ascertainment process where the public, the select board, and interested persons can continue to submit records, data, and information to help us further identify needs. And if there's one word that sort of sums up the whole process, the ascertainment phase of the process, it's needs. So even post-closing, the public and all of us can continue. There's an open door to submitting further records. It doesn't have to end just because the hearing ends, as that's the intent of the Cable Act sections on ascertainment. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I will address that before we close the hearing or continue the hearing this evening. Mr. Gotti, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Melinda and team. When you look at that growth chart of just the coverage provided over the course of the past year and what that has looked like since 2017, unbelievable that 3 or 4 people are able to put that much programming out at the quality and, quite frankly, helping us continue to run as a town government. One question I did have regarding your presentation, Melinda, you were showing sort of the 17% decline, and it looks like that's accelerating in more recent years. Is your 5-year projection at, sort of a current trend of down 17 you know, going to give you enough for continuing to provide the service at the level that you have been?
It's a hard question. I mean, with yes, they're losing subscribers. Does that mean that they are losing money? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It just depends on, how much they're charging for their services. So that's a hard number to project. However, the House of Representatives and the Senate right now in Massachusetts have House 130 and Senate 2200, which is an act relative to digital entertainment on the public rights of way. And that would essentially require streaming services to also provide revenue this in the same structure as the cable companies. So that could be, hopefully something that would help continued funding in community media. And nationally, there's Senator Ed Markey is about to introduce the Protecting Community Television Act. And he's currently looking for co-sponsors on that. But essentially that modifies section 622 G1. If you recall, the 621 order that passed earlier in 2020 allowed for in-kind services to be deducted from franchise fees, such as free cable to towns and cities, and fearing that the channel capacity could be considered at some point. So the cable order is still being challenged in courts. So that's kind of where we're at nationally.
Thank you, Melinda. Mr. Gay, you have your hand raised. I'm
Thank
sorry,
you, Mike.
Mr. Gotti, were you finished?
I just say, anything else that we can do to support you at the state or federal level, Melinda?
Just to, reach out to our local representatives and please have them support those two bills that are currently in the Massachusetts House and Senate.
Okay. Mr. Gay, did you have something you wanted to say, or you just had your hand up?
No, I just want to add one quick thing. So Bill, I just wanted to add for the record that we did submit 20 letters of testimony. So that should be part of the current allotment, and we expect more in the coming 2 weeks.
Okay.
And those are entered
into the record
as hearing exhibits.
Yes.
I would ask the board to confirm, right?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
So prior to us, we will close our hearing, our public hearing, so to speak, on December 20th. Members of the public may continue to submit comments on town cable license renewal needs for later review by the select board and a process for license renewal, ascertainment of needs, and the board reserves the right to schedule and to hold additional hearings and/or public meetings for review of consideration of the public comments. Residents can submit written testimony via email to selectboard@townhall.westwood.ma.us or to the Select Board office at 580 High Street, Westwood, Mass. 02090. We will continue this hearing to December 20th, when we will then approve the request or vote to approve the request from the Westwood Media Center for the renegotiation of Verizon's gross annual revenue to be provided for PEG programming as part of the board's license renewal of Verizon New England, Inc. Anything else that we need to address at this time, Mr. Hearn?
One more point of order, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
You may.
Tish, can you make it a point that the advertisement and public notices become exhibit 1 and 2 in the record for tonight?
Well,
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. All right, I think that's it for this until our next meeting, where we will take it up a second time. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Okay, so moving along to our new business. We have our third.
One
Yes.
second. Do we need a motion on that, or is it just how you read that?
I think it's just how I read it until the next meeting, then we do
Okay.
the motion.
Wasn't sure.
You might be better off making a motion to continue it to the next meeting, Mr. Chairman, just.
Okay, Mr. Hickey?
I move that we continue tonight's public hearing regarding Westwood Media Center to our next regularly scheduled meeting.
For the Verizon New England Inc. cable ascertainment hearing?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So moved. Or second, sorry.
Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Mr. Gotti,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Okay, Pam is staying with us just because she loves us so much, but we have some third quarter capital that we need to release.
Yes, so we would ask the board to approve the release of the third quarter capital. As you know, each year, all of the capital articles voted at town meeting have a requirement that you release those funds during the year. The projects can't go forward until you approve release. Total capital was $3.8 million. You released 2.7 the first quarter, about 200,000 the second quarter. There's a list in your packet. Request is to release $788,750 for third quarter items. And all of that is contingent upon making sure the departments comply with any of the procurement requirements necessary for the projects.
Okay.
I move that the board approve the release of third quarter FY22 capital totaling $788,750 to the various departments contingent upon all procurement procedures and checklists are fulfilled.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Mr. Gotti,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Okay, last thing under our new business this evening, we need to open the 2022 Spring Annual Town Meeting warrant. This is the opportunity at this meeting. Annually, the Select Board opens a town meeting warrant through the final month of the calendar year for any and all articles to be proposed for consideration at the annual town meeting, in addition to the standard business articles. Select Board must accept any petition articles that are submitted with 10 or more signatures of registered voters. Petitioners, and if you're thinking about taking such an action, are encouraged to present and to review a draft of their petition language with the Finance and Warrant Commission, the Select Board, or Mr. Ahern as Town Council before you obtain any signatures to ensure that it is properly drafted and can be acted upon at town meeting. We accept all articles submitted by a majority of committees, commissions, or boards. The department's heads have been asked to submit articles to be sponsored by the Select Board for their review. We will close this at our first meeting in January of 2022. That is when we intend to close it. So you have now until our first meeting in January of 2022. And finally, the last thing that we have on our meeting this evening is to approve minutes from our November 15th.
No, we need a vote on that.
Okay.
I move that the board vote to open the town meeting warrant for the 2022 annual town meeting and indicate its plan to close the warrant at its first meeting in January 2022.
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Mr. Gotti,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. Now, the last thing we have is approval of the minutes from our November 15th, 2021 board meeting.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr.
I
Coleman.
believe we have a transfer,
Transfer funds.
Westwood Media Center. A transfer request
Okay.
under old business.
No.
Unless I'm mistaken.
Okay, no, you are right, okay. Skip that, the little peg didn't open. So we also have the Westwood Media Center transfer of funds. We have a total of $89,910.30, which is coming both from the Comcast and Verizon peg agreements that have been signed. And let's see. I'll let the breakdown be done by Mr. Hickey as he does the motion. Is there any questions?
I move that the board approve the transfer of $46,371.39 from Comcast, as well as $45,538.91 from Verizon.
Hold on, John, go back. You get that wrong.
Yep.
Said 45.
40,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, $43,538.91 from Verizon, totaling $89,810.30 to Westwood Media Center per the license agreement and the Westwood Media Center agreements signed by the Select Board.
I will second that motion.
Okay, Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Mr. Gotti,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Okay, now we get to the last agenda item, which is the approval of the select board minutes from November 15th, 2021, consisting of 10 pages.
I did
So
send
moved.
over some revised minutes earlier. I'm not sure if you had a chance to review the revised minutes.
I have not. So
Okay,
you
so
want
do
to
you want to
hold
hold
off?
off to the next
Yep.
meeting?
Sure.
Do that?
Okay. We will hold that off until our next meeting, which is scheduled, as you might know, for Monday, December 20th at 7 PM. It is scheduled to be a hybrid in person in the Gillette meeting room and via Zoom. If all things hold well, but we still have another 2 weeks in between to see where things go. So with that, I think we have conducted our business tonight. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Mr. Gotti,
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Thank you very much, everyone.
Good
We'll
night,
see you
all.
on December 20th.